Dear brothers, sisters, and associates in the missionaries of St. Francis de Sales, it is a true blessing to be here with you today as we dive into a very special and essential resource for our spiritual lives, the MSFS Spiritual Directory. This book is not just another manual. No, it's far more than that. It is a daily companion, a guide, a spiritual map that can help us navigate our personal and communal journeys of faith. As Francilians, we are called to live devoutly, to serve joyfully, and to walk in the presence of God in all that we do. This spiritual directory, adapted specifically for us and our associates, is designed to help us do just that. It offers us practical tools to stay close to God, even amidst the noise and challenges of modern life. Whether you are an MSFS priest, a religious, or one of our dear lay associates, the spiritual directory can shape your heart, your actions, and your mission. Today, I invite you to explore this spiritual treasure with me as we reflect on how it can transform our lives, deepen our devotion, and strengthen our service. Section 1. What is the spiritual directory? Let's begin by asking the obvious question. What exactly is the MSFS Personal Spiritual Directory? In simple terms, it is a practical program to help us live in the world without being consumed by it. This directory guides us to focus on the present moment, doing God's will in each situation, whether we are at work, in prayer, or even resting. It helps us become more aware of God's presence in everything we do. You see, St. Francis de Sales had this beautiful way of making spirituality accessible. He wasn't interested in overly complex or unreachable ideals. Instead, he gave us simple, concrete steps that we can follow daily. The spiritual directory builds on his wisdom and offers us a clear path for living devoutly in today's world. St. Francis de Sales teaches us that if we faithfully follow this directory, God will work in us and through us. In his own words, God will work with you, in you, and for you, and your work will be followed by consolation. Think about that for a moment. Imagine starting each day going about your tasks, whether small or great, knowing that every step, every word, every action can be an offering to God. This is what the directory helps us to do, to live intentionally with God as the center of our lives. Section 2. Goals of the Spiritual Directory. Now, the spiritual directory is built on 3 fundamental goals. These goals are not lofty ideals that are impossible to reach. They are practical, daily practices that can help us live in constant communion with God. Let me walk you through each of them. 1. To live constantly in the presence of God. This is the first and most important goal. It challenges us to stay aware of God's presence in every moment. Whether we are busy with work, spending time with family, or simply resting, the directory invites us to keep our hearts and minds focused on God. And how do we do this? Through short prayers, reflections, and moments of quiet throughout the day. We may not always have time for long meditations, but even in a few moments, we can pause, lift our thoughts to God, and renew our awareness of His presence. Secondly, to do God's will while fulfilling our daily responsibilities. Next, the directory helps us see our daily duties, our work, our ministry, and even our chorus as opportunities to do God's will. Often, we may think that holiness is reserved for special moments, but the directory teaches us that every action can be an offering to God. As St. Francis de Sales wisely said, renew again and again your yes to the will of God, even in the smallest tasks. Every task, whether it's serving in the parish, preparing a meal, or even interacting with a colleague, can become a moment of grace when we dedicate it to God. Third, to live a life of virtue, growing in holiness. Finally, the directory encourages us to live a life of virtue, to actively grow in holiness. And let's be honest, this doesn't happen overnight. But the beauty of Salesian spirituality is that it teaches us to take one step at a time. Each day, we are called to strive for small acts of kindness, humility, and love. These daily virtues will eventually transform us into more Christ-like people. The spiritual directory helps us recognize that holiness is not achieved in grand gestures, but in the daily, often hidden acts of love and devotion. Section 3. Why the spiritual directory is needed today for MSFS and our associates. Now, more than ever, the spiritual directory is vital. We live in a fast-paced, secularized world. Technology and material comfort make our lives easier. Yes, but they also have the potential to distract us from what truly matters, our relationship with God. In such a world, we can easily forget our spiritual commitments, or worse, compartmentalize our faith, separating it from our daily lives. But as Francilians, as disciples of St. Francis de Sales, we are called to live in the world while keeping God at the center. This directory helps us do just that. It helps us integrate our spiritual life with the demands of our everyday responsibilities. It's important to remember that the directory is not only for priests and religious. It's for everyone, whether you are working in ministry, raising a family, or supporting your community as a lay associate. The practices outlined in the directory can help you stay focused on your vocation and grow in holiness. As St. Francis de Sales reminds us, the quality of our life depends on the quality of our love. The directory helps us strengthen that love for God, for our neighbor, and for ourselves. Section 4. Core Articles and Spiritual Practices. Let's now take a deeper look at some of the key spiritual practices outlined in the MSFS Personal Spiritual Directory. These are the daily practices that will help us stay grounded in our faith and deepen our relationship with God. First, rising and morning exercises. Every day begins with an opportunity to recenter ourselves in God's presence. Upon rising, the directory instructs us to direct our thoughts to God through prayer and reflection. It encourages us to thank God for the new day, to offer Him our whole being, and to seek His blessings for the tasks ahead. Rising is like the resurrection. St. Francis de Sales says, when we wake up with this mindset, we set a positive and holy tone for the rest of the day. Second, direction of intention. One of the most powerful yet simple practices in the directory is the direction of intention. Before starting any task, whether big or small, the directory encourages us to pause for a moment and offer the task to God. This prayer reminds us that no task is insignificant when it is done for God's glory. Whether we are working, eating, resting, or even engaging in recreation, we can turn it into an act of devotion simply by offering it to God. Third, meditation and living in the presence of God. Next, the directory emphasizes the importance of meditation. St. Francis de Sales teaches us that we should take time each day to meditate on God's Word and His presence in our lives. Meditation is a moment for us to reflect, to be still, and to allow God to speak to our hearts. But it doesn't end there. The directory also calls us to live in the presence of God throughout the day, even when we are busy. It encourages us to take short breaks during the day, to retreat into the silence of our hearts, and to lift our minds to God with brief prayers and reflections. 4. The Holy Eucharist. The Holy Eucharist is at the heart of our spiritual life. The directory reminds us that the Eucharist is the sun of our spiritual exercises. As Franciscans, we are called to celebrate and participate in the Eucharist with reverence, joy, and deep devotion. The directory encourages us to prepare ourselves before Mass, to participate fully during the liturgy, and to spend time in personal thanksgiving afterward. The Eucharist is not just a ritual, it is a profound encounter with Christ, and the directory helps us make the most of this sacred moment. 5. Examination of conscience and the sacrament of reconciliation. Finally, the directory calls us to examine our conscience daily to review how we have lived in alignment with God's will. This practice is essential for spiritual growth. By reflecting on our actions each day, we become more aware of where we have fallen short and where we need God's grace to improve. The directory also encourages us to seek regular reconciliation at least once a month to experience God's mercy and healing. This practice keeps our hearts pure and strengthens our commitment to live a holy life. Section 5. Personal application and challenge. My dear brothers, sisters, and associates, The MSFS Personal Spiritual Directory is not just a book to read, it is a way of life. It is an invitation to transform our daily routines into acts of love and devotion, to live every moment in the presence of God. This will require discipline, patience, and perseverance. But I assure you, the rewards will be immense. You will experience a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and joy. You will find that your work and mission becomes more fruitful, and your relationship with God grows stronger. So I ask you today, will you take up this challenge? Will you commit to integrating the practices of the spiritual directory into your daily life? Will you allow this guide to shape your heart, your mind, and your actions? St. Francis de Sales reminds us, God will lead us all to perfection, one step at a time. The spiritual directory gives us the steps. Now it's up to us to take them. As we bring this reflection to a close, I want to leave you with this thought. The journey toward holiness is not about perfection, but progress. The MSFS Personal Spiritual Directory is your guide on this journey. It offers practical steps that will help you live more devoutly, serve more faithfully, and grow closer to God each day. Let us embrace this spiritual tool with open hearts and minds. Let us commit to living with intention, purpose, and devotion. And let us trust that through this directory, we will not only transform our own lives, but also the lives of those we serve. May the Lord bless us and guide us on this journey. May we walk with Him step by step as we live out our vocation as Francilians. And may St. Francis de Sales, our patron, continue to inspire us as we strive to live in the gentle presence of God. Live Jesus.